So I'm Wendy Brown and I'm one of the physios here that works at Overdale for the state of Jersey. We may have told you that you're going to get a Periform in the post, and this is what it looks like when it arrives. The whole purpose of this gadget is to help you to find out, are you using your pelvic floor muscles correctly? So it's a single person use probe, which means it's just for you, but you do not bin it. It's washable with liquid soapy water, rinse it afterwards and dry it well. When you open it, and I would suggest you wash it before you use it, when you open it, inside there will be some instructions that you can read, but I'm going to try and tell you everything that you need to know. There's going to be a little probe that sits inside the vagina with a lead on the end of it, and the aim is, when you wash it, to not get water in the end of this lead, because it will do extra things if the lead is intact and stays dry. And the final part inside the packet are 3 little sticks. There is a picture on the front of the packet to help you to assemble it, so it's a little bit of a DIY job. These sticks join up to make one long one, and the only reason why they are in 3 parts is just to fit into the package. You can keep it as one big long one for the long term, or break them up if you want to put them back in the pack. So we're kind of making an indicator stick, and on this probe there is a hole which allows the stick to be pushed inside it. So a bit of brute force and you join the 2 together. I've left the string or the cord hanging down the ways. In this picture the string is up the ways, but really it doesn't matter. You could build it like the picture and have the string hanging like that. It just is a bit in the way, which I believe, and you see if I'm pulling it apart, it's a wee bit of brute force until it gets a bit looser. Hold it nice and close to the edge, and I'm going to turn it around and put the stick connected, always pointing away from the probe. So in this picture, that's it matched up. So once you've it built and washed without getting water in the end of it, the first place to maybe try this to see if you're using your pelvic floor muscles properly might be lying down on your bed. You need to be sure that you've got your legs nice and relaxed apart. So another alternative place, if your bedroom door you can't lock and you don't want anybody disturbing you, might be if you have a bath, to go there, a dry bath, because obviously we don't want water in the end of these, but then you can rest your legs apart against the sides of the bath. You need to get your hands on a little bit of water jelly, so that could be KY jelly, aqua jelly, boot zone jelly. It comes like in a tube, and buy a small one because you won't need very much of it. Looks like a toothpaste tube. It'll always be behind the counter, and any pharmacy will have them as well. The aim would be to put the equivalent of kind of 2 baked beans worth on the tip, just to help to slip it in. And when you slip it inside the vagina, it should go all the way in, that really this is all that you feel on the outside. So if it's half in, half out, it won't work. It's never going to go in too far. It is a one size fits everybody, and thereby you have no problem in using the one that we have sent you. Once it's inside, having your thighs apart is so vital, otherwise it's not going to work. So if I was lying on my bed, I'd need to make sure my legs were apart, otherwise my legs and thighs could be touching the stick and then it's not going to move. So what happens when this is sitting inside the vagina? This little gadget is going to be resting on your pelvic floor muscles. And if you're able to squeeze your pelvic floor muscles correctly, you should see this stick move. So I'm going to just move sideways, that you can imagine if I was lying down and this was sitting inside my vagina and I'm watching the end of the stick. I've got my legs apart, I'm lovely and relaxed. I am not using my buttocks, they're lazy, my belly's lazy, my thighs are lazy, and I'm breathing. And the first thing to try to think about is as if you're trying to keep wind in your back passage. I know this is inside your vagina, but the back passage muscles can help this gadget to move and activate your pelvic floor. So if I was to think right now of trying to hold on to my back passage and I'm watching the end of this stick, it should move down in the direction of my toes. If it didn't move at all, that's just kind of saying your muscles are probably pretty weak. But if it was to move in the direction of your nose, you are doing everything wrong, and this would make your problem worse, and we must not see a movement going in this direction. So the goal is to see a downward deflection. Maybe initially it might just go and come back, and that's grand. If you can do that, that's really positive. Holding on to wind and imagine you're trying to keep a tampon in, you might actually get it to move a little bit further. Don't expect to see it go like this. That is humanly impossible. I think probably in realisticness, we might see it move an inch, max, maybe 3-ish centimeters would be a fantastic squeeze. If you squeeze your muscle and you make it go down and you can still keep it there, even better. The goal would be to hold it as long as you think you can. Obviously you let go whenever it gets too tired. It might even let go all on its own accord. Could you do it again? And how long can you really hold it for? That's helping you to see, I am doing it correctly because it's going down. I can hold it for whatever number of seconds, and I can do it again and again and again, maybe 5 or 6 times before it just gets so difficult it won't budge at all. And that kind of gives you a baseline of what you can do. The aim then being would be to use this when you fancy, maybe once a week, not when you've got your period if you do have periods, but once a week would give you a bit of reassessing. How good am I? Have I made any progress as the week has gone by? If it's moving lying and you're kind of getting quite good at this, you could also try this gadget sitting on the edge of your toilet seat. So same idea, legs well apart, probe sitting inside, making sure it's not half out or half in. It has to be nice and snug to the entrance of the skin of the vagina. And the stick again should move in a downward direction. And are you able to make it move? Can you hold it there? How many can you do in a row before it gets tired? Ultimately, I would love it to be that you could make the stick move if you were standing. So if I was on my feet, again making sure my legs are apart, the same thing should happen. This stick should go in a downward direction when I've squeezed. Hardest place to do. And in some women, they'll come back and say to me, as soon as I stood up, Wendy, the probe fell out and landed on the floor. If that was to happen, it's kind of suggesting that there's not an awful lot of muscle holding and it's too early for you to do them on your feet, but the day hopefully will come that you can keep it in on your feet and manage to make your stick move. The real push yourself to get your very best. If it does move when you're standing, could you make the stick move down? Walk on this spot, stop walking on the spot and let the stick come back to where it started. That is so difficult, but it's worth trying for. Could I also make the stick go down and cough and it doesn't move? Because often when a cough happens, whenever we've squeezed, it can often do and bounce all the way up towards your nose. And your goal is to have your pelvic floor clamped tight, that whenever you cough or sneeze, the pelvic floor muscles keep the urethra closed, thereby assisting you to stay dry. A final thing you can do with this in standing, and this is really pushing, you've got to be pretty good to be able to do this, is could you make your stick go down and even do a bit of a mini squat and stand back up again and then let go of your squeeze. So it's a special piece of plastic just for you that you can pick and choose where's the right place for you. Lying is the easiest place because when you're on your back there's no real weight on this. Sitting is the next harder place and standing is the ultimate challenge because most of us, our problem is worse whenever we're on our feet. And our hope is while you work at this at home until we see you again, that you can keep niggling in or sort of trying to push yourself that wee bit extra because every squeeze counts, and the better you do them and the more repetitions that you do to your limit, you're using your eyes to be able to help you to feel and what is actually happening inside. You can't see your pelvic floor inside, but you can see the effect of your pelvic floor with the stick moving. Hopefully that makes sense. Once you take it out, you're going to obviously give it a wash, liquid soapy water, whatever you'd wash your hands with, rinse it, dry it and pop it back in its bag. Don't put it in hot boiling water and it does not need to go in melting. The vagina is not a sterile environment, and just as a reminder, try to keep the end of these leads bone dry.